Welcome back to another episode of 360 Sports. It's the College Football Tuesday here, and I'm Owen Klein, your host. With me are Ethan Brinser, Brendan Kern, and Rob De Lorenzo. And boys, it was supposed to be a sluggish weekend, but that was most certainly not the case. To start us off, got to talk about two teams inside the top three in the AP poll at the start of the year, Penn State and Texas. But they were out of the poll entirely after their defeats to UCLA and Florida, respectively. First time since 1964 it's happened. Shout out to my boy Evan Smith for said stat. But I want to know which loss was more impactful and why.
I don't really know. This is a question. It had to have been Penn State. People were going into that Texas game thinking they could have lost. I mean, they're going down to the swamp. They didn't look great against some like this inferior competition they were playing. People expected that they could lose to Florida. I don't think there was a soul outside of UCLA that thought that they had a chance in that game, let alone winning it outright. And now, I don't think there's a chance Penn State makes the playoffs. I don't see them going to Ohio State the way they look. I don't see them beating Indiana the way they look. 4 losses, you're not making it.
I completely agree, honestly. I think this was an end of an era for Penn State, not as much as this was a bump in the road for Texas. I think Texas, they know what they're dealing with in Arch Manning. They know that they have one of the best prospects possibly ever in NFL history if he plays to the level he's supposed to. But this is Drew Hour's last season. This is James Franklin's 12th season, actually, with the team, and they still don't have any success when it comes to playing these ranked opponents. They couldn't get it done last year, and they still can't get it done. So I think this easily means more for Penn State than it does for Texas.
Yeah, I think that this game, like people, even after the Oregon game last week, people were still on the fence of whether Penn State should keep Franklin. I think this was the game that he's officially going to be gone. His whole thing as a coach at Penn State was, okay, he couldn't win the big games, but at least he won the small games and got to a high-level bowl game. Last year, he got to the playoffs. This just completely screws that up. And an 0-4 team in UCLA, that is just flat-out embarrassing from the entire Penn State team. This loss should mark the end of Franklin at Penn State. I wouldn't have been mad if they left him in LA.
Well, not at all, and not just an 0-4 team, Ethan. It might have been the worst power conference team in FBS history. Getting dismissed all of its coaching staff. But Jerry Neuheisel, he had an excellent plan with Nico Yamaleava and his offense, but also not to mention the coaching staff catching Penn State off guard with that onside kick. But most importantly, not rushing the punter in that situation where taking a safety is the most optimal thing for UCLA in the final 30 seconds.
Well, kind of going off of that, in these big games with Penn State, there's always been one side of the ball that hasn't shown up. We've seen the big games in the past. It's the offense that doesn't show up. Today, Jim Knowles and the Penn State defense, they put on invisibility cloaks. They were not there at all. I mean, you give up 42 points to that UCLA offense. They looked horrific. I mean, the entire season, Nico Iamaleava looked awful. People thought he was one of the worst quarterbacks, kind of like you said in Power 4. It's inexcusable from a team like Penn State.
Especially with an interim offensive coordinator. I just had to add that in. That is just ridiculous, and highest paid defensive coordinator in college football. I mean, what are we doing here?
It is absolutely ridiculous. I was going into the game expecting Penn State to score like 24 points on offense, but like I was expecting UCLA to not score anything. The fact that they went out, and I forget what the score was until Penn State scored their first points. I couldn't watch the game, but I heard a lot about it.
Neither could I, because I was at a tournament. But you mentioned leaving James Franklin down in LA. Maybe he better eat a red velvet donut with banana filling. It would have been the best breakfast he's ever had. But going back to that Texas game, what do you make of Arch?
I think Arch, we know he has at least another year at Texas. That's already a given. So I think Steve Sarkisian should just build around him for that other year that he has him, and he needs to prove why he could be a winning coach, because he's not great against ranked opponents either. He's 2-8 in his Texas tenure against ranked opponents, and he doesn't have a good record in general on any FBS team. So I think if they don't get it done next year, I don't know when the next time for Texas is going to be. So,
well, I mean, with Arch, it's the pedestal that he was put on coming in. People hyped him up to be this Caleb Williams at USC level player, which you saw the competition he was playing in high school. It was nothing spectacular, nothing like what you see from some of these top guys. He shouldn't have had these expectations coming in. I think he's playing about to his caliber. It's not like he's this super fantastic player that's just not playing very well right now. That's just who he is. And it's a shame that people hyped them up this much coming in.
And that's also why I think the Penn State game is worse than this Texas game, because like if you look at the two quarterbacks, Aller versus Manning, like Manning, like yes, he was apparently supposed to be this great guy. I never like thought he was going to come out as the Heisman favorite. He shouldn't have been that high, but like he still has multiple years left, hopefully at Texas, and to prove himself. This is Aller's final year, and what has he done? He's done absolutely nothing besides like get 30 passing yards or whatever. But like anybody that watches the game know that he is not playing good.
And he looks like he's in quicksand when he's in the pocket. I honestly hope he trips over and falls in a puddle today. Honestly, like this is terrible.
Yeah, but going back to Arch, you have to wonder if he's adopted at this point. But another team to highlight, Miami, going into Tallahassee and demolishing Florida State. The final score doesn't say it. It was 28-3 before they took their foot off the gas. But what I want to know is, can any other ACC team stand up to Miami in that conference?
No. They don't play a ranked team for the rest of the year. Georgia Tech and Wake Forest are the only two other teams in that conference that are ranked right now. Florida State was probably their biggest test in the conference, and we saw what happened on Saturday. I mean, they absolutely demolished them. And this whole team just looks ridiculous. Carson Beck should probably be the Heisman favorite right now. Ruben Bain has looked like probably the best defensive player in the country. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets Heisman votes at this rate by the end of the year. And then CJ Daniels and Malachi Toney. I mean, they look like two of the best receivers in the country, probably the best receiver duo in the country. Just the whole offense, it looks like a different species of human beings than every team they play against.
Ruben Bain, future first overall pick?
Let's not get crazy.
Let's not get crazy.
Whoa. Let's not get first overall pick.
Yeah, and like the only team that I even think could stand up to Miami is Georgia Tech right now. But even them, like their last two games were bad. I just want to start this off by saying that they were losing 21-14 versus Temple, and it's like,
yeah,
Wake Forest was not. They had to come back against Wake Forest. They finished the comeback, but if that's the only team in the conference that can challenge Miami, that's not going to happen. Especially with Miami most probably going undefeated. I don't want to speak anything into existence, but I just don't really see anybody stepping up to them.
Yeah, it's Miami team, in my opinion. They're just going to keep their foot on the gas. They're not going to stop. I mean, Carson Beck, like you said, has looked awesome in this Shannon Dawson offense. And Ruben Bain and another guy, too, Akeem Mesidor on that defensive line. Both of them have combined 5.5 sacks this season. And I think when the defense is clicking and you have a quarterback playing at the best level he can, this is a team that could win the national championship.
Yeah.
Looks like a runaway to a top 4 spot in the college football playoff and a first-round bye for Miami, which may or may not be harmful for them in the long run. But their head coach, Mario Cristobal, is definitely on top of the world right now. But what about some other coaches? Some have had their seats warm up, while others have cooled down just a little bit. Between guys like Billy Napier and Brent Brennan, and other guys like Luke Fickell and Trent Dilfer. Which of these coaches will be most under the microscope as the season approaches its halfway mark?
I mean, listen, Luke Fickell has an insane schedule. This Wisconsin Badgers team, I don't know how they got the schedule, but they have Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, Illinois, and a bunch of Big Ten competition along with that. So he's been with the team for 3 years, so I don't think they're going to, cut him off or anything, because we do see in college, sometimes we do keep coaches for an extended amount of time for them to, figure it out. But this is going to be a hard rest of the season for Wisconsin. We'll see what happens, but he should definitely be – I don't know if he should be on the hot seat. I mean, this is a crazy schedule.
I also went with Luke Fickell, but I think his seat's probably a little warmer than how you're describing it. I mean, Paul Chryst before Luke Fickell, he was 67-26 at Wisconsin. I mean, there was a standard before Fickell came in, and don't get me wrong, he looked good at Cincinnati. He took them to a playoff, which nobody thought could happen, but he's 15-16 at Wisconsin so far. I mean, that's not acceptable. And it kind of seems like the fans are turning on him. I mean, Fire Fickell was booming out at Wisconsin home games. And like you said, their schedule coming up is ridiculous. I could see them finishing with 4 or 5 wins. And I think another season with 7 or less wins, that could be enough for him to be out the door.
It could be, yeah.
The issue with him is just that, he's in the Big Ten, but he, has to play all these ranked teams. And obviously you have to go against, the juggernauts each year. But they're not just losing to the juggernauts. They're losing other games that they shouldn't be losing. And that can't happen as if you have the standard of a, high-level Big Ten team. But the coach that I have under the microscope is still Billy Napier. People are trying to say he's off the hook a little bit. Let's not get carried away. This Texas team is a little overrated. I want to point out, just by, since he's been here, they've constantly had top 20 in recruiting. He's had one winning season since then last year, which, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for that. But you can't have these below 500 finishes and not with the recruiting class that you have and not expect to blame that on the coach. It's just unacceptable. He had one win this week. Who knows? He could win out and maybe prove something, but even at this point, I think it's too late for him. He already screwed the season up. I think that he will be heavily on the hot seat by the end of the season, possibly even gone. I know Florida fans hate him, so.
And Brendan, you're talking about the standard at Wisconsin. It just doesn't go to the macro transactions. It goes to the micro transactions. Talking about late in that game against Michigan. Luke Fickell in Wisconsin, they had all 3 timeouts with the clock winding down late in the game. He didn't use any of them. Yeah. Is that a sign that he's quit on this team and this program?
I wouldn't go that far. I just don't think he's a very good coach for what Wisconsin has. I mean, again, there is a standard. Fickell, again, great at Cincinnati. That might be kind of his wheelhouse, is these lower Power 4 schools. You go to a team like Wisconsin, you have the chance to get that marquee win over Michigan. That could have been kind of his statement victory and say, this is why I deserve to be the coach here. Didn't get it. It feels like that's been the theme his entire tenure. I don't think he's quit on the team. I think we're coming up on the team quitting on him.
Either way, it was a flop for him. And Penn State and Texas certainly did flop in their games on Saturday. But what about some other flops? We're going to go out to the board right over to my left here, and we are going to give our biggest flop of the week. So why don't we go with you, Ethan?
All right. So we're talking about Penn State. We're staying in the Big Ten for this game. Maryland against Washington. They were up 20-3. I think it was 20-0 at one point, 20-3 in the third quarter. They started getting out the hammocks, sleeping on them in the beach, doing all that. Washington scores 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I think it was 9 plays that Michigan had in the fourth quarter altogether. Or I shouldn't say altogether, until they were trailing Washington. Final drive, they couldn't convert on 4th down. You cannot play in the Big Ten. And this is at home, by the way. They're playing Washington at home with a 17-point lead going into the 4th, I think it was. And you just can't lose that at home as a team in the Big Ten. That is just flat out embarrassing for Maryland. Sorry.
Well, maybe it's Damon Williams, the future of this Washington group.
Maybe.
I mean, they didn't look bad against Ohio State. I mean, they're definitely an underrated team, but if you're Maryland, you can't lose that.
Yeah, they held their ground against Ohio State. I forget what the final score is. It didn't look great, but it was good for what Washington was. But again, especially this being a home game, that's my main focus on this. You can't have that lead at home and choke that. That's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we do you next,
Brian? All right. We're going to jump to the Big 12 in what was a pretty embarrassing loss. Iowa State loses to Cincinnati 38-30. They were trailing at one point 31-7, and their season, it honestly might be over after this game, not just because of the loss, but they lost their 2 best cornerbacks to season-ending knee injuries. Their defensive line and their run defense is already horrible. Now, you don't have a pass defense. Your offense, you're relying on them scoring 30 a game, you're still losing. The Big 12, it's up for grabs. Iowa State, they made the Big 12 championship last year, lost to Arizona State. It feels like that conference can always go to anyone. You got Texas Tech, BYU, Arizona State. Those are all kind of the main said contenders. But Iowa State, it just doesn't feel like they can keep up with them now. This loss, it might have ended their season, which is crazy to say in week 5, but I think it's over for Iowa State.
And how much of a hot seat does this put Matt Campbell on?
Well, I think it's just an unfortunate situation. I mean, injuries to Jeremiah Cooper and Jontez Williams, that hurts your defense bad. And like I said, Iowa State, they were probably Big 12 contenders heading into this year. They probably were if they don't go down, even if they still lose this game. But you've got these emerging teams like Texas Tech and BYU that are going to stay at the top. I don't think it's a hot seat yet. Maybe another year kind of like this, and we'll start to see that.
Brendan, you mentioned the injuries on defense. Big citrus in the middle. Can't do it all by himself.
Yeah, no, he can't.
All right, so
what about you, Rob?
So this isn't much of a humiliating loss, but it's a loss that's going to affect this team's season a lot, especially in what happened the week before this one. Florida State losing to Miami, and they just lost to Virginia. I chose Florida State for this because this easily, in my opinion, takes them out of playoff contention. They don't have they have a solid schedule going on for the rest of the season, but I don't think it's going to bring them into playoff contention like their hopes were beating Alabama coming into the season. I think this is still a successful season for Florida State, but I don't think that is going to be the Cinderella story that everyone wanted it to be.
How much did we get our hopes up after Florida State to be at Alabama week 1?
Well, listen, I got my hopes up. That was the problem here. So Florida State, I think they're a very good roster. I love Tommy Castellanos at quarterback. I think he is a dog. I think he could win games for Florida State, but I think might have gotten my hopes a little too high after seeing them in the top 25.
Well, that's the problem kind of with these ACC teams is that it's not super competitive in that conference. With Clemson going down, your best teams are Miami and Georgia Tech. So if you lose one of those games and your out-of-conference schedule isn't great, you probably can't build up a good enough resume for the playoff. Florida State would have had to win this game to stay in. I agree. I don't think they're going to make it anymore because of this.
Absolutely. And, well, much of other teams are on the bubble, but one team that's definitely not, as make me right here, one team that's definitely not on the bubble is Boston College. This is unreal. Pitt started freshman quarterback Mason Heichel in favor of Eli Holstein, and oh man, what a performance that he brought today. 323 yards and 4 touchdown passes on Saturday. And this is a Pitt team that blew a 17-0 lead against Louisville and gave up 17 unanswered in the second half to lose to Louisville the week prior. And Bill O'Brien, I am not sure if he can bring this program to better heights going forward. And if none symbolizes this better than their 2 men in the backfield, Turbo Richard, their running back, he only had 2 rushing yards, just 2, compared to 171 the week prior against Cal. And quarterback Dylan Lonergan, he only completed half his passes for 89 yards, which is just disgusting. And he got replaced by his backup. Wasn't much better.
Yeah, it feels like Boston College is in kind of this perpetual state of like below mid. It feels like in college football, you see teams like Texas A&M is usually a lock to go 8-4 every year. This year's obviously different, but Boston College, it feels like it's 6-6 and below every year, especially under Bill O'Brien. When do you think he gets fired? I feel like it's got to be. I feel like it's got to be soon.
Do you think his time as an NFL GM and that DeAndre Hopkins trade kind of corrupted him?
Well, I just don't think Boston College is very good. It's not necessarily he's the reason why, but as long as he's there, they certainly haven't had talent they've just misused. I just don't think that something has to change, and in these kind of situations, it's usually the head coach.
If something like this goes on for long enough, you kind of just got to blame the coach because it's on, especially in college when guys are there for 4, maybe 5. Some guys like 7 for some reason years.
or there could be a problem possibly in like recruiting with this team. I mean, I don't really know what's up with Boston College lately. I don't know.
Massachusetts is probably a weak area for recruiting because it's all about academics over there. Got some really prestigious colleges over there, but we got some upsets. Why don't we force people to cry even more? Saturday's upsets were 2 of the biggest in recent memory. Why don't we go down memory lane down the last 10 years and look at some of the biggest upsets? We'll be given one team and the date of these upsets, and we have to determine the other team based on what's given.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. 2018 Ohio State, October 20th.
This feels like the Purdue game.
The
Purdue blackout. If this is the away side at Purdue.
Tyler Trent, Rondale Moore legacy.
Yeah,
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Manhandled the second-ranked team in the country. I think it was 49-20. I mean, just a ridiculous game.
And yep, it was.
Look at
that.
Do I get bonus points? Do I get bonus points for the score? I feel like I should get bonus points for the score.
You may as well get that credit. Next, number 26.
This is
Pitt.
Was it Clemson? No, this was
Pitt was the team that took down Clemson that year. That was Nathan Peterman going into Clemson and defeating a top 4 team in the country. What do you think, guys? Should we pencil in as Clemson?
Well, now you got me second guessing it.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, isn't this the year that Pitt also beat Penn State when they were not ranked, or is that the next year?
That was still with Peterman at quarterback.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's either Clemson,
but I don't know if that would count as an upset because technically.
I was gonna say I think Clemson was that was also the second in the country when they lost.
I like that Clemson pick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Clemson.
You go.
Yeah.
All right. 342. That final score. let's see, November 4th, 2017.
Michigan State could be anybody.
Yeah.
I feel like this is Penn State.
That's not a bad guess.
Yeah.
It's not a
I
bad
mean,
guess.
It's one of the
they
Big
lose
Ten
to Ohio State the
juggernauts.
week prior.
I was going to say the Ohio State game was when they were down like 40 plus at halftime, but I don't think it was this one. Might have been the same year. Oh, I don't know.
Mhm.
Do you?
Yep.
It was Penn
Yep.
State.
That was Penn State, yeah.
All right, last
Figured I count
one. Oh my
Yeah, I know
god!
this.
I think this.
Okay, so this is
I
early.
think I have an idea of what this is.
Okay, this is early in the season.
I'm gonna know and just once I'm told I would remember, but I'm just completely blanking on
This,
Yeah.
Really,
Oh my
there?
goodness.
Early-
I think I'll give you an. It's not an SEC. opponent.
yeah, if it's early in the season, it feels like an
Yeah.
out of conference. It's probably like some FCS level. I can't think of.
Is this Notre Dame?
No.
No,
They
no.
played the last year. Notre Dame won that game.
Okay,
And Notre
okay.
Dame lost this year. And remember, it's not an SEC, not even a power conference opponent.
I'm gonna just take a loss here.
I'm not
It's
sure.
Appalachian State.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like
Let's see it.
I faintly remember this, but not enough that I would have.
Why don't I remember this?
Yeah.
Not enough that I would have
okay.
gotten
Yeah,
guess.
17-14. Game day went to Appalachian State the next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
That's the way to get them.
Ugly game, 17-14.
Yeah, ooh.
And this is when A&M still had guys like Devon Achane
Mhm.
on the team.
That's what I was saying earlier. Perpetual mid from A&M.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Exactly
But
what
this
Dawson
was still
said.
during the Jimbo Fisher era, correct?
Close to.
Yeah.
Close to it, not in.
Yeah, and didn't Elko get the head coaching job?
Mhm.
It was either the next. I think it was 2024 that he got the head coaching
Yeah.
job, if I'm not mistaken. Well, as we mentioned earlier, last week was supposed to be a snooze fest, but it was not. But we can't rest on our laurels here. Why don't we fire some quick picks to some of the best games of the week, starting with a big new kickoff game in Champaign as top-ranked Ohio State battles number 17 Illinois.
It feels weird saying that last week would have been a get-right game for Ohio State. I mean, they're the defending national championships. They haven't lost a game yet.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they didn't look great versus Washington. They didn't look great versus Ohio a couple weeks earlier. They absolutely rolled against Minnesota. I think they're going to carry that into this game. I think it's going to be obviously a lot closer than 42-3 against Minnesota, but I think Ohio State takes this one.
I no extra notes. I just don't think there's really. I mean, there's obviously a chance Illinois wins, but
Mhm.
I got Ohio State for this one.
Yeah, I think the biggest part about this is it being a Big Ten matchup. I think that's like the most important part of this game. But I mean, Ohio State looks like the best team in the country. There's no other way to put it. This is just this is the best team in the country in my eyes. I think them and Miami, like those are like the top two, and then everyone else is under them.
Mhm.
Really, not even Oregon after going into Penn State. I know the Nittany Lions may as well be frauds, as it's pretty much every wideout that's brought into.
So
the
here's
football
my thing
universe,
with
maybe.
like that Oregon versus Penn State game. I thought going into that game that this game was going to be an evaluation of Drew Aller and James Franklin and what Penn State could do against ranked opponents. Now, can they prove the world wrong? No, they couldn't, because Drew Aller didn't show up for the occasion. But then the next week, James Franklin doesn't show up to the occasion, and neither does our defensive coordinator. So I know it doesn't have a lot to do with Oregon, but it's just inconsistencies with Penn State, and it's being such a close game. I don't know what to think of Oregon as a top 5 team in the country. I just don't.
Really, I just think they came into that whiteout, which I think they said was the second highest attended game in Beaver Stadium against, like, we can say Penn State's bad now, but like, let's be real. Our defense was killing them for like the first half.
Mhm.
They came into that and still managed to shut down our offense, which again isn't the hardest thing in the world. But ignore the noise. I don't even it didn't look like it bothered them that much, except for like maybe a few moments, maybe in the fourth quarter. That's what we're kind of already jumping into the Oregon game later on. But I was going to bring this up anyway. I was very surprised that they jumped down, but I think that was the real test for them, and obviously they got another test coming up.
Yep, don't worry.
But
We'll get to that
We'll
later.
get to that. But
Yep, I'm still taking Ohio State. Well, let's head down to the SEC quickly for a matchup between Alabama and Missouri and in Columbia at Faurot Field.
Give me Bo. Give me Bo Peru, boy.
Ribula.
You're gonna give me. Oh my God! I'm sorry.
I mean, you're acting like you want ribs.
This is honestly like an upset pick for me. I do think Mizzou can win this game against Alabama. I don't think Alabama is very well coached. I don't really like a lot about Bama right now, and I'm liking a lot of more things about Mizzou. That's what I'm going with for this one. I think they're going to upset them.
The thing about Bama is that they've been locked in after their loss. They've been doing what they needed to do against worse teams. Missouri, I'm pretty sure Missouri's first ranked matchup or like very high level matchup. Not that I think if Missouri had another good game earlier on in the season and they were kind of ready for it, they'd come out stronger against Bama. I just think that's what's holding them back right now. This being their first really big challenge and Bama already kind of having that. But it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, to that point, Alabama, they're battle tested. Ty Johnson is the truth. I think he is that guy. This team was able to go down into Athens and beat Georgia in Kirby Smart's house. I mean, they're rolling right now. They had a great win last week against Vanderbilt. I think they take this one.
Yep. Last letdown against Vanderbilt, much like last year. No, sir.
Nope.
Yeah. Ty Simpson and company got the job done. But now we get to a top 10 matchup. I think Alabama will take that one. But Indiana against Oregon in Outton. I feel like the Ducks are going to take this one and maybe throw Indiana down the ledge.
I mean, this game means so much more for Oregon than I think it does for Indiana. I think Indiana, they're playing with house money right now. No one expected them to go and roll against Illinois. I don't think anyone's expecting them to go in there and destroy Oregon. They got all this criticism against them. Oregon, you're playing at home, Autzen Stadium. It's going to be like a volcano. It's going to erupt in there. This is one of the first top 10 matchups. You take out that Ohio State game. They don't host many big games like this. Oregon, they're always up to the test in these high-pressure games. I'm taking Oregon.
Yeah, again, I mentioned this earlier. We're coming back to it. They came into Beaver Stadium and won. There's no way they go home and lose. Indiana's, they looks like a good team. Mm-hmm. You know who else is a good team? Oregon. Give me Oregon.
I agree. I think this is just going to be – I'm going to take the better coaching staff. I'm going to go Oregon. They have the experience. I'm just going to go Oregon, take the safe pick on this one. I already got the gamble with the last game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still sticking with Oregon. But, well, let's go down to the Red River rivalry in Dallas, where 6th-ranked Oklahoma battles Texas. And I mean, first things first, is it a bit of a robbery that this isn't a noon kickoff?
I mean, maybe just because that kind of is the theme of the Red River rivalry, excuse me. I'm taking Oklahoma. If John Mateer plays, I'll take him by 21. If he doesn't, I'll take him by 14. Mm-hmm. The Texas offensive struggles, I think, are too inconsistent. Going Oklahoma.
I don't want to say we were talking trash on Texas earlier, but this is a game that I feel like Texas is just going to win for some reason, even though I feel like not a lot of people expect them to. If we're looking at realistically what should happen, they should lose. Randomly, they're just going to win this game, and there's no reasoning for it. They're just going to.
Honestly, it's if Mateer plays or not. As of right now, he's pushing to play, so I think they have a much higher chance of winning the game if Mateer plays. He looks like one of the best college quarterbacks when he plays, in my opinion. So, I mean, I'm just going to go Oklahoma here. If Mateer plays, if he doesn't, I mean, Texas, of course, can get that sneaky win. I don't know.
I'm going with Texas. Michael Hawkins does not inspire confidence if Mateer can't go. Only 237 yards of offense in last year's meeting. But for the last matchup, it is 15th-ranked Michigan against USC. Last week, we saw a Big Ten team on the East Coast roll into L.A. and get beaten into the ground. Can the same thing happen? I think so.
Yeah, you just took the words right out of my mouth. It's so hard for a team to travel cross country, play in the Rose Bowl, and Michigan's going to be playing a better team than UCLA. They're playing USC. I think UCLA is pretty good. Bryce Underwood, 19 years old, traveling across the country to play in a football game.
Yeah,
I don't see it. Give me USC.
I don't know. I could definitely see this is another, I think, a really good matchup and definitely on upset alert. I just something's telling me to go Michigan here. I don't really. This is another Texas thing. I don't have a reason for it. Just. Michigan, they're going to hold on. It's going to be a crappy game. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 10-7, honestly. Just nothing happens.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go USC on this one. I think they have better playmakers, especially on the offense side. I love Mekhi Lemon. I know I know Michigan has a great running back, and Underwood is performing pretty well for the situation he's in. But I'm going to go with USC on this one.
Yep, definitely. I'm taking USC. Their running game is going to get the job done, but we'll have to see what this next week in college football, week 7, will bring us. For Ethan, Brendan, and Rob, I'm Owen Klein. and have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow.